Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Feels like quite a while now since I've done a Speak My Mind episode. I think I've said before that about how I was struggling to come up with topics. But at the time of this recording, which is I think the 6th of June or 7th of June, today it is. Very nice day today. It's definitely starting to get a bit warmer. And finally, the general election has been called. It was I think about 2 weeks or so ago now at the time of this recording. And I can't tell you how much of a relief it is to have the general election finally been called, guys. It has felt like a long time. Part of me feels that that I was in agreement with Robert Spear in believing that perhaps we weren't going to get a general election until January 2025. That's what I kind of was worried about. But we actually don't really know the truth of why he called the general election. We can speculate. Lots of people have speculated. Some say it's because inflation is down. The numbers look as best as they possibly can. This is the best case scenario for Rishi Sunak to possibly hold on. Some are saying that it is because he's obviously got his children prepped in America so that when he loses this election, he can bugger off back to California, America, and be done with Britain altogether. Mind you, I don't think any of us are going to miss Rishi Sunak, to be fair. I think the vast majority of people in this country, if I'm absolutely honest, are kind of just sick and tired of Rishi Sunak. You know, they're tired of this political party. And I think when you look at it, you know, you've had the same political party for 14 years. And 14 years is a long time. It's a long time. It's a big chunk of actually people's lives when you think about it. 14 years. You think about that's quite a big chunk of life. That some people obviously have never. Some people have been born like in 2010, who are like 14 years old or whatnot, never living in a completely different lifestyle, grown up, different system to, I would say, what myself and maybe older generations have, because they've experienced life under a Labour government. But I say also each to their own. So it is going to be quite a change. Now, of course, Labour have their issues, and I don't think anyone's going to question that. But make no mistake about it, we cannot trust Labour. But at the same time, we mustn't underestimate the danger that the right-wing media and the dangers of the likes of Nigel Farage, those of right-wing influence and of those ilk. We should not underestimate them, just because it's entirely possible that the Conservatives may be wiped out. And it's entirely possible, I still think it's unlikely, but it's entirely possible that Lib Dems could become the opposition. I personally don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case. There's a lot of things that's on my mind at the moment based on that. There's still time between now and obviously the day itself, at time of this recording. But the thing is, you can't just have a so-called centre and centre-left opposition thing. The public will not accept that. People are always going to be on one side or the other in terms of politics and whatnot. And there's a lot of people out there who believe in Nigel Farage and believe in reform. There's a lot of people out there who are still die-hard Conservatives, and regardless of what they've done for the last 14 years, they're still going to vote Conservative, even though that they've crashed the economy, made children's lives worse, destroyed the NHS, uncontrolled immigration, as people like to put it, broken education system, councils going bust, trains are absolutely terrible. But obviously none of that's. But obviously it's it's obviously COVID's fault that all of that's happened. It's obviously the Ukraine war. It's Putin's fault that that's all happened. It's obviously the EU's fault that all that's happened. But no, we can't blame the Conservatives for any of it, is what some of these Conservative supporters think. I mean, it's like just accept reality. But no, some people just don't want to accept reality of what's happening out there. And that is the reality, is that the Conservatives are responsible. And the thing is, they've never owned up to their mistakes. They've never owned up to their faults. They've never owned up to their responsibility. And if you're someone watching this and you have any decency whatsoever, you would have apologized and accepted your mistakes, your ownerships and your responsibilities for your own actions and your own words in the past. Because if you don't, you're just going to be you're not exactly someone I would like to associate with. You know, the strongest people are the ones who have lost in life and have learnt to live and accept with it and move on. Those who have admitted their wrongdoings and have learnt from them. And this bunch of Conservatives have not done that. They have not done that at all. They're not the same Conservatives. They're not the same Conservatives from 2010, I would say, as well. They definitely have changed since then. And we cannot have austerity again. We really cannot. Keir Starmer says there's not going to be another austerity. We will have to wait and see. I am sceptical of what he has said, because at the time of this recording, I still haven't seen his goddamn manifesto, which is really driving me nuts. And of all the manifestos I want to see, it's Labour's, because they're the ones who are going to be in government, and we all know that. So we want to see exactly what they're pledging, what are they saying, and how they're going to fund all these promises that they're making. So we want to see it. I want to see it in a fine-tooth comb in details. You know, what they're going to do to fix the NHS, how they're going to improve our education system, what they're going to do in terms of dealing with crime and overcrowded prisons and a broken justice system, how they're going to deal with migration. This border command thing is very sceptical, but I have more optimism in that than the blimmin' whole Rwanda scheme, which is obviously something that cannot work in any way, shape or form, because it's illegal as well. And this idea of idiotic idea from people saying we should leave the European Convention on Human Rights, have absolutely no idea of the consequences of us leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. Yeah, because these are the same muppets that are telling us to leave the ECHR, the same muppets that told us that leaving the European Union was a good idea. And you're looking at how things are going in 2024. Well, you know, things aren't exactly going well for us, is it? In comparison to other nations. So, and you can blame some of that on the Conservatives, but you can't deny that Brexit has damaged us as well. And someone was mentioning it on the last question time. That time it's recording about why isn't Brexit being mentioned, and it's true. Like, we're not talking about it, and it's again the white elephant in the room. It's not going to go away. I do believe it will be mentioned by people on the doorstep, although it may not be as mentioned as other things. I said Partygate will be something that will be brought up as well. People haven't forgotten that as well. The Conservatives are going to get an absolute thumping, and they deserve this thumping. They deserve it. They deserve to get a right kicking. But there's lots of other factors to play in as well. How are the Greens going to cope? How are the Lib Dems as well? Are they both going to get enough media coverage? Because I don't feel that they get enough media coverage in terms of Nigel Farage now, he's the leader and running as an MP for Clacton. He's getting plenty of media coverage. Are they going to get enough media coverage? Are they going to be given their platforms? Now, are Plaid Cymru and the SNP up in Scotland, are they going to be given their fair share of platforms in this general election campaign too? You know, these are questions that I think that I'm very sceptical of, which is why I've always screamed about coming back to the term the media reform. Why we must have media reform. I actually go as far as to say I actually think media reform and the Leveson inquiry, I think that is a bigger issue than proportional representation and changes to the House of Lords, than rejoining the single market and customs union. Media reform is the number one priority for me, I think, because if we don't change we don't change it, we're going to come back to this again, because there will always be people who have the money and influence and powers, the billionaires and rich people, who will manipulate and mislead people against their will. And we're not just seeing it here, we've seen it across the world. You see it with Donald Trump in America, how people think that Trump is the best thing that's happened to them since sliced bread. America was worse off under him. You've seen how there's obviously in Slovakia, they're trying to gain control of the state media. I believe it's Slovakia. And they may have even gotten control of it. They wanted to get more control of it, the government, to control it more. Obviously in Georgia you had the Russian law, which is a foreign law, which obviously again is just another influence to gain more control. You have in Israel, there was a story not too long ago about Israeli people were marching for there was a flag march or something in Jerusalem, and they just blatantly attacked Palestinians and journalists for no reason whatsoever. They just attacked them. Nothing was done. No arrests or anything were made at the time of this recording. Their mindset is that, and this is what they were not just born and raised into, but what the media is telling them to, is that Palestinians are second-class citizens, that Palestinians are not equal. They have been, their minds, and they've been bred to think differently to what we've been. This is not all Israelis. This is how citizens are educated and whatnot in there. So we are seeing this change happening around the world. And it's not, and the media reform needs to happen across the world, not just in the UK. Now, it is something that I really feel strongly and passionate about more than any other issue in this general election. And I really hope that if Labour doesn't push for it in government, perhaps we need to get a campaign of our own going to push for that media reform. Because if we don't, the cycle of trouble in society is going to continue on and on and on. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you think media reform is the biggest issue in the UK? Do you think, what do you guys think so far of the general election? How do you guys think they are doing? Obviously things have changed. Some things have happened that I have not seen at the time of this recording. But let me know what you guys thought on the general election, what you think of my thoughts, what you think about media reform, and more down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this across social media, all that usual stuff, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.